My name is Caleb Peck, and these are my two brothers, Brady and Alex. We were raised in the back seat of a Jeep, and ever since we were little kids, we've been obsessed with anything that has to do with off-road. Since we were old enough to turn a wrench, we've been building our own Jeeps. And all the building, buying, selling, and wheeling has kept us close through the years. So here we are telling our story in hopes to inspire others to get off-road. You're watching Peck Brothers. All right, everybody, it is day 16. There is 16 days till we leave for MOAB, Utah. I'm working on this center console. She's primed, but I gotta do some body work. There's a couple little places you can tell where there's some imperfection in the steel. And right here you can tell. So I gotta fill all those with some of man's greatest creation, Bondo. I have this, kind of makes me feel like Bob Ross. The only difference between me and Bob Ross is Bob Ross knows what he's doing. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. This ain't a how-to, this ain't nothing. I'm just showing you what I'm doing here. Well, while this thing is drying, I guess I don't really know what you call setting up. The Bondo has to like harden so I can sand it. While that's doing what it's doing, I'm gonna go work on the Jeep. So I have these stock gauges here, and I have this one here, oil temp, tranny temp, and air pressure. So I think I'm gonna put more gauges in here. So I gotta build something that'll be able to house 3 gauges in here. All right, so I made these little tabs. They're gonna hold this piece that I made, and then another piece of aluminum is gonna bolt to this. So I gotta get this in place and tack this on. Perfect. So now I just need to make an aluminum piece that goes right in this bezel here. And then I'll hook the aluminum piece to this so I can take it off without having to pull this whole entire bezel off. Makes it a super big pain if my center console's in and I need to get to these gauges and pull them out. I want to be able to pull this whole panel that holds the gauges out. So I got to make this aluminum piece.
Tomorrow.
I got pulled away from the Jeep yesterday, and I know crap like that can't happen. We're past being able to do that kind of stuff. It is what it is. We are 15 days today. 15 days until this thing has to be going. I did get that aluminum piece made. I did get it in. I drilled these holes back here behind so this aluminum piece can unbolt from the steel piece and it can come off that houses the gauges. Makes it so I don't have to take this whole thing off every time I want to pull the gauges out and deal with the wiring. So the center console can go in and this thing doesn't have to come out every time we want to pull the gauges out. So that's good news that that's done. I've been real tired of dealing with that. That's a super good thing that we can check off the list. That means that we can put that center console in and it can stay in. The center console is dry. The Bondo is ready to go and ready to get sanded. All this stuff looks nice and dry, so we can start sanding. And I think we'll probably need to Bondo it one more time, get all the imperfections out, then we'll throw some primer, throw some paint. First, I'm gonna sand it with, I think this is 80 grit sandpaper, super coarse, just to knock off the edges. Now I'm hitting it with 80 grit to smooth it all out. We're all sanded, and I threw some more Bondo on here, just in a couple of places where we needed it. I'm gonna try and make this look like it's part of the original top. I've just been kind of waiting for that Bondo to set up. Started sanding these brackets that hold the windshield, these ones that hold the doors, and I set these up, and they're just hanging out on some baling wire. But these will be ready to put primer on as well. I have my windshield frame that I need to put some primer on too, but it's got problems. Pulled the old windshield out of it, and this is the old remaining glue. And it's just ridiculous to get this out. And it goes all the way around here. I think I'm just gonna sit and try and get it off with a razor blade for about 3 hours. And that's pretty much what I'm gonna be doing for the next while. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. Here we go, right here. Here's this chisel. Oh, that's way better. Razor blades, pure dirt. I ain't doing that. Not even a little bit.
We're not cavemen. We have technology.
I ain't joking around anymore. We got the wire wheel here. Not messing around anymore. That razor blade stuff ain't cool. Man, that took forever. Now, I just gotta sand it. I gotta get some of the double-sided foam tape off the top where the bracket mounts to hold my soft top on. Gotta get an eraser wheel really quick, zip that off, sand it. It should be ready to go. This right here is what I gotta use this eraser wheel for. It's really not wanting to come off. These things here, this is an eraser wheel. If you've never used one of these, go get one. They are so nice. You can take stickers, decals, anything sticky off of them. And what's nice is it doesn't hurt the paint. You just go really slow. I don't even know what it's made of, but it helps a ton. Turned out super, super nice. Didn't scratch or anything. Now it's just time to clean it up and start sanding.
Later.
So I finally got this whole thing sanded, and now it's dark. That was a pretty serious thing getting checked off the list. Now it's ready for primer, and we should just only have to wet sand the primer one time. Brady decided to come out and do an alignment on the Jeep because he's a saint.
What? I love you, man.
But I don't really know what's going on, so he's got to explain what he's doing.
Caleb needs a lot of help, not just with his Jeep, but I figured this is where we should start.
Come on.
I've done one of these before. I can't say that it worked real well.
What was it on?
An old truck on the reservation.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I learned it, and this kind of works. We don't, obviously we're dealing with Peck Brothers materials here.
And clearances?
Yeah, we don't have an alignment rack or any of that.
It's looking like this is pretty, looks like you know what you're doing.
So just kind of a quick run around here to start everything off. For the people that don't know, our axles, front and back, are able to move, you know, probably about an inch back and forth with the twist of these link bars. They have adjustment in them. And what that is they have to be adjusted right, so when you turn the wheel and then you let go and you go straight, it'll want to come back to center. It won't wear your tires unevenly. And, you know, it tracks down the road straight. Some people, if you've ever seen a truck going down the road crooked, like crab walking, that's usually what our Jeeps look like. But hopefully this one isn't doing that.
But that's the long and the short of what an alignment is. Basically to get your vehicle to track perfectly straight down the road. So your steering wheel doesn't fade one way or fade the other.
And it's going straight.
And it's going perfectly straight.
So what we've got is we're trying to align the whole Jeep up, and it's hard for a reference point on a brand new build to get that exactly right. So what I decided to do, and listen, there's probably a lot of people that know how to do this better than us, but this is a way that makes sense in our minds, so this is what we're doing. So if you have a better way, We'd like to hear about it.
Look, throw it in the comments. Throw it in the comments. None of us have ever worked for a tire store. None of us have ever done nothing. So this is honestly above my pay grade. That's why Brady's taken. Thank goodness we got Brady. He's always the guy that's writing this kind of stuff down, figuring out, doing math and stuff. I just build crap.
The nice part about being the older brother is they think that I know what I'm doing.
He's been around longer, so he should know what he's doing.
Okay, so I started on the back bumper. That's where I'm guessing the best reference point is, the most straight thing to start off with. So what I did is I leveled down the very back of the bumper. So I got 16 and 5/16 is exactly level. What we know now is when I did both sides, we're exactly 16 and 5/8 from the back bumper. So it should track, the back axle should track straight with the direction that the front bumper's headed, which is kind of our best straight. I mean, it's flat with the body. It's our best reference point in my mind. So here's our front axle and our rear axle. And what we did is, now that this is running parallel and true to the Jeep, we now need to equal out the front axle. So we measured from tube to tube, and it's 107 inches. This one was 106 and 5/16. So we adjusted this side to get him exactly 107 inches. So what we gotta do now is make sure that this axle is headed exactly straight with this frame. And what we did was we just took and measured off something that's the same on both sides up to the inside of our frame on each side. Hopefully that makes sense.
If it don't, DM us and we'll explain it better.
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense, but you know what I'm saying. We just gotta make sure that this is running exactly centered at ride height. So the arc of this track bar is going to depend on how much this axle moves back and forth. If it was on a steeper angle like this, when it comes up, it's going to head that way. The axle will. So it will kind of do this with the body. So this is on a little bit of an angle, and we're running about 6 inches of up travel. That's where we want to be. So this is where we're gonna mock it up so everything's straight. We found out that his track bar, when Cave mocked it up at very first, just to make sure everything fit and we had the right bolts and all that, we ended up being 1/2 an inch too short. So what we had to do is unthread this heim to center that and split the difference of our 1/2 inch, which is 1/4. And now it's running perfectly straight.
What we're dealing with now is we're trying to get these front knuckles to run perfectly straight down the road. And it's basically like if you had a pedal bike and you were trying to go straight and you turned the wheel, obviously you're gonna turn. On this Jeep, if they're kicked out, you're gonna break traction as you're trying to go straight. And we want them perfectly straight so we can go right down the road and everything is perfect.
So the way that we're gonna accomplish this is we've got our string. This whole hillbilly setup that you see here actually has a purpose. And the tricky part that I'm gonna try to explain is this. Our front axle is wider than our rear, where we're going to be measuring. We have more surface area right here to measure off of from our string. So we're gonna measure on this, which is not the wheel mounting surface, it's the outside of rotor surface. So we're gonna measure from there, on the front and the back. And what we've got, the measurement on the front axle is 66.5, the rear is 63 and 3/16. So the difference of those two is 3 and 7/16 inches. What we have to do is break that in half. So that's 1 and a big 11/16. So right here, we got this mocked up on the welder, and we got it mocked up there on the jack handle. Oh, you just find 2 things that are gonna hold up nice and not gonna move. And what you're gonna wanna do is get it exactly straight, which is right on exactly where we want it, in between 1 3/4 and 1 11/16 on the back side of the rotor as well as on the front. They're the exact same measurement. If we were running the exact same width front axle or a front axle on the rear, this would be touching the string, and it would be headed exactly perfect in line with this string. You remember us saying that the rear axle is narrower than the front. That's why it's away from this string. So what we have to do on a Jeep is we use this wheel adapter to make up the difference on the front. So from this edge here where the wheel contacts this, or where it mounts to this, on this side and that side is going to equal the width of the front axle. So now we're gonna check our other side here, and we're gonna go 1 11/16 on our brand new tape measure here that you can see so nicely. I let Caleb borrow this for a day. It was brand new.
I'm gonna kill you.
So this is all set up exactly perfect. Now after all of that is done, now what we have is a perfectly straight, parallel running front end and rear end, along with the chassis. So now, this is gonna kind of throw you off, we have to kick in the front tires in 1/8 of an inch, which is what most people recommend in doing an alignment. It helps it track straight, it keeps your steering wheel straight, and when you turn and let go, it's gonna wanna come back to center. We're gonna kick these things in 1/8 of an inch, and our alignment, redneck alignment, is going to be finished.
Later.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is day 14. It's getting close. I'm getting kind of worried.
Day 14, we've started it once. It ran for what, 30 seconds? We haven't put it in gear.
No, hasn't been in gear still.
We haven't cycled suspension with brake lines yet.
No, we're still checking clearance. I mean, everything should, you say that. Brady's saying that like we haven't checked everything already.
We've kind of checked.
We've checked, most everything has been gone over and checked, but there is still, when stuff gets tweaked, when alignments happen, stuff moves, who knows. But tires are still off of it. Brady's helping me dealing with the steering and the alignment. So everything's good here. I'm got paint going. I got everything hung up. I got primer sitting in the gun. We're really needing to get everything painted. 14 days. Holy cow. I'm not kidding. Every day the stress keeps getting worse and worse and worse because it's so far. There is so much work that needs to get done, but all we can do is just go as fast as we can, do as good a job as we can. We don't want to go down there and just throw it all together and have issues, be working on it all the time. I just hate that. So it's got to go together good, but we're trying to do a good job and do it as fast as we can. We just got to keep moving. Right now I'm in here. I got to wipe everything down with some grease and wax remover. You can't see it because it's backwards. But some grease and wax remover on a rag. Gotta wipe everything down, air it off one more time, and then we're shooting some primer.
Meanwhile.
This is a huge checklist item.
I've been dreading this job actually, just because we thought we had problems, but
Brady thought we had problems. I put it on, so I knew it was perfect. But Brady thought we were having problems.
well, I hate to break it to you, but it wasn't perfect.
Well, it was perfect enough.
Good for Alex.
Yeah.
It turned 55 degrees one way and
40.
35 the other.
Exactly. So we're mounting this ram. Well, that's already been mounted. I made that mount, but this was the side that was to be determined. And Brady's figured everything out.
We're not a fan of those clamp ones that go on here because we have seen push up against a rock, it'll blow out and start sliding around here. A lot of people argue mine's been fine for 15 years, and some of them probably are, but we just want to wipe out that possible problem, make enough shimmy in our ram to adjust, but keep everything rigid so we know it's not going anywhere.
Holy cow. The steering is done because of this guy.
This feels good.
Dude, it might make it.
The steering's done.
It might make it. Check this out. The steering wheel is even straight. That's the very first, Brady said, that's the very first Peck Jeep that the steering's been perfect, right? Pulling out of the garage the first time.
The alignment's done as good as it can be.
With no machine.
It's gonna steer all the way to one side and all the way to the other. 50 degrees of steering every last millimeter
Milla steering.
that this Super Duty's got.
6.5 hours later.
Holy cow, guys. I'll bet some of you are probably like, dude, if your Jeep needs to get done that fast, quit making a video and finish it. Just work on it. Well, that's what I've been doing. I've been on the grind. Same with Brady, same with my dad. He's got all the steering painted. Everything's tight. Everything is all completely clearanced, set up. It's all welded together. The steering is completely finished. Tires are all back on. So now what I have is I built this other fender really quick. I just whipped that one up. It's a lot easier when you've already done one. But this red line right here, that's where we want the top of the hood to be. And so what I did is I took and cut about 5/8. I did this because I'm gonna take these special pliers, they're a flat edge on these channel locks. And super carefully, I'm gonna put the edge of these pliers on the mark, just like that. And I'm gonna take, and just a little tiny bit at a time, bend this piece in. And I just keep doing that until pretty soon it's perfectly flat. That's how those ended up turning out.
Go see what Cabe's up to in the shed. What are you doing?
Checking to see what grit I need to wet sand all this stuff before I can throw the base coat, the red color on it. So it's saying that it needs 400 grit machine or dry, 500 grit wet. So I gotta wet sand everything.
You've been working on this for a minute.
I've been working on this. This center console's really...
Thing's a dame.
It is a dame. I love this thing. It's gotta be done tomorrow. So I'm like, you know what? I gotta get red on it. I'll just get red on the rest of this stuff. We'll be able to put the half doors on too.
Oh yeah.
So we're just gonna crank it out tonight. What happened to your shirt?
Well, today while I was working on your Jeep, underneath it, welding tabs upside down, I started smelling something really
What it smell like?
concerning. It was burning flesh and
Really?
a mix of smoke. I was like, you can't stop a weld once you're started, so I just kind of held it, and then I got done and looked down and it was on fire and I started patting it out. It didn't burn me too bad, at least this one. I have a few other holes that are kind of smaller, but yeah, that's what happened today.
We need to get you a new Peck Brothers shirt.
Yeah, the thing that sucks is this is one of my favorite shirts.
Yeah, man, that's a ding.
I don't know. That's what happened today, so I'd probably wear it tomorrow too. Oh baby.
Woo! Holy crap. It is just after 1 a.m. and everything is clear coated. The whole place is aired out of all the overspray. So, man, I got a couple of good coats on here. Nothing ran, which thank goodness. I really don't know what I'm doing. This is the very first thing that I've ever painted as far as like cars go in my whole life. But I'm just so excited about it. So this is color matched the center console. That's it, everybody. It is day 13. It's 1 a.m. and it's day 13. We got a ton of dang good stuff done in the past couple of days. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out, we have our very first video of this series is 17 days. And this Jeep has come a long way since then. Thank you so much to Brady and my dad. So stoked you guys are watching. The next video is on its way.